Le dernier métro, le dernier métro, Depardieu and Devenu in a love triangle. The husband's in the basement, he's hiding from the Nazis because he's Jewish, even though he owns the theater. Yeah. Hello there, CriterioNate here, number 462, Francois Truffaut's The Last Metro, or Le Dernier Metro. No, I'm not going to sing it again. 1980, 131 minutes, color monaural in French with English subtitles, one blah blah blah. So, well, we're back with Truffaut. It's good to see this film again. I kept forgetting that this one was Truffaut when we were coming up to it. And it wasn't until I got the case that I was like, written by Francois Truffaut. I'm like, oh wait a minute, it's Antoine Daniel. It's not Antoine Daniel. Yeah. Léaud is not in this one. But we have two big French film stars, Gerard Depardieu and Catherine Deneuve, whom I've never really been that fond of, either of them actually. I don't know, just not crazy about their performances in this one, especially in this one either. The story itself is really interesting, and Truffaut's direction is really, really interesting. But I just don't think that the stars really brought anything to the movie, personally. I don't think that they were the right ones for the parts. Yeah. Anyway, but that's just my opinion, and I mean, I could probably stop now because everybody's turned it off. Because how dare you bash on Catherine Deneuve and Gerard Depardieu? Yeah. Which is going to be weird considering I got more Depardieu in the form of Danton and a little while later. But maybe this one will be better. I don't know. Anyway, we're talking about The Last Metro right now. What's The Last Metro about? Well, it's about this actor. His name's Bernard Granger or something like that. What is his name? Bernard something or other. Depardieu plays him, and he's working in this theater, who's run by Marion, who's played by Devenu, and she actually is kind of sub-running it with her husband, let's see, his name's Bernard Granger, yeah. Her husband, Lucas Steiner, who is a Jewish, and this is during the war, and he is hiding in the basement, even though he's said to have left the country. He's left Paris, but he's hiding in the cellars, living there basically, and he's basically living there and hiding out from the Nazis, who were occupying France at the time. And so anyway, Bernard gets a job there, co-starring against Marion, who's starring in this new play Disappearance, and who's written. I think it was written by Lucas, and so he's so it's been it's bashed by this one guy, Daixat, Daxiat, I don't know. Daixat or something like that, and he's like this critic who hates it because it's Jewish and all that, and she finds it an insult, and I guess at one point Bernard ends up finding it insulting because he starts to fall for Marion, and over time Lucas starts to realize that Marion's falling for him too, though she doesn't want to admit it, and he tries to help them along by trying to get her to accept his advances while they're practicing. In the script it's meant that he's supposed to touch her face, and she doesn't want him to have him do it, even though later on Lucas says do it. Anyway, later on, Bernard meets the angry critic and says that you're wrong, and he punches him out, and this really pisses off Marion, because she wants the theater to succeed and the play to succeed, and so she excommunicates herself from Bernard outside of rehearsals and the play. And so toward the end, however, Bernard is actually an assistant in the resistance. At one point, he steals a record player and delivers it to a friend in the resistance and not unbeknownst to them, the record player is actually a bomb, and it's a successful attack. And later on, he ends up meeting this friend. However, the Nazis get to him, the Gestapo catch up to his friend, and angered by this, Bernard says he's going to take a break from acting and work with the resistance full time. And so Marion is a little distraught by this, but she says, yeah, fine, we'll just find someone to replace you. However, as he's leaving and he's packing up his stuff, she admits his love for him, and they have sex on the floor, and later on, and so there's a little bit of a time skip where they show after the war, Lucas makes it out, and I guess they make a new play, and I don't know, I guess the ending is supposed to reveal that like they have a love triangle, or like it's very reminiscent of Jules and Jim, where there's one woman sharing two guys. And so I'm assuming that's what the ending's supposed to mean, where like they all bow, the three of them bow together, Lucas, Bernard, and Marion. And yeah, it's a little iffy of an ending. I'm not crazy about that ending either. So yeah, that's all I have to say about the plot. Again, it's an interesting movie. I think the storyline up until the ending is very, very interesting. I wish there wasn't so much ambiguity in these endings, but what are you gonna do? I like the touches of humor. I like the touches that are very Truffaut. And I like the little kid. There's a little kid who's rehearsing his lines, and he only has like 2 or 3 lines in the movie. And they at one point when the director says that, he's got one little kid. He's the best actor we've had, So there's that. Yeah, that's basically all I have to say. Where does it rank? It's definitely not as good as his earlier work. Stuff like 400 Blows, Shoot the Piano Player. That's his bread and butter. Again, I wasn't crazy about Jules and Jim, so and because of the love triangle idea, I'm not crazy about it. And again, I think some of it is because of the lead actors. Again, it's Truffaut, so it's a good movie. I need to see more of his stuff, and I've wanted to see more of his stuff, like Fahrenheit 451, which I just read earlier this year, as well, or maybe it was about a year ago actually, and stuff like we've got a couple more Truffaut movies coming up, like Soft Skin, and I think there's another one I can't remember. But anyway, any rate, Last Metro, I'm gonna give it a B. I'll give it a B. It's interesting, but I think it misses something somewhere, in the storyline and the actors. The actors, I feel like it was miscast, but just so silly. Anyway, so that's So Last Metro B. Disc 1, just commentary. Disc 2 has all the big supplements. There's a deleted scene which has no subtitles, so I had no clue what they were talking about. There's a number of interviews. There's 2 excerpts from French television back in the 80s. One featuring Truffaut, Devenue, Depardieu talking about the film. Then another one with Truffaut and Jean Poirot, who's in the film. I think I can't remember who he plays. I can't remember who he plays now. There's also a newer interview with some of the surviving actors, and then there's another interview with Nestor Almedros, who was the cinematographer on the movie, and interviews with Florent Racine and Tessa Racine, who were the camera assistants. And oh god, the worst of it all, though, is there's a short film included from 1958, which was co-directed by Truffant and everyone's favorite French dipshit, Jean-Luc Godard. And oh boy, is it Godard. I think Godard, well, apparently what I read was that Truffaut, shot the film. It's about this girl who meets her boyfriend, or meets some dude, while Paris is, flooded, and, she's trying to make her way through the city, and while the city's flooded and all that. And she ends up going and, hanging out with this guy everywhere. And, so anyway, it's a little weird, but a lot of it is because of the dialogue. The whole film is narrated with that Godard dialogue, and random sound effects and music and stuff like that. So, apparently a lot of the post-production was done by Godard, so there's that. I guess Godard cut out a lot of the plot and left just a shell of a movie or a short film. So I guess Truffaut liked it. Go figure. Anyway, that was kind of a sour way to end the package too, and maybe that's what I'm thinking about too while I do this review. Trailer, and that's it. So, Last Metro, again, not a great one, but still not terrible. B. So that's it for today. Tomorrow we are either going to do one of two things. We're going to try and get the Eclipser to knock out all 4 of these, fingers crossed, or you'll see me again and we'll do this. So we don't know. It's a toss-up. It's a wild card. But either way, these are coming next in some form. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, all these, we got these 3 coming, as well as the Realm of the Senses, which is on its way, and then a couple others. So we'll leave it at that. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching. Don't work with Godard, because he'll turn your movie and short film into a piece of crap. And let's talk about The Last Metro. Don't be a Nazi. Yeah, don't be a Nazi, and punch out anybody who hates your movie, hates your plot because it's Jewish, or your stories because it's Jewish, So anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching, and we will see you all tomorrow for these or this. Figure it out. Anyway, until then, goodbye.